Historically, Pakistan has been all too happy to let the country serve as an American outpost. But China's sway in Pakistan has steadily increased over the past decade, and Islamabad has repeatedly dismissed US criticism over the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, and Pakistan's relations with China. China has also been Pakistan's largest foreign investor for years. Islamabad's tilt towards Beijing has raised concern in Western capitals. Now, after keeping away from Pakistan following the withdrawal of Western forces from Afghanistan, the US seems to be coming back to Pakistan. It's just approved a $100 million push to keep China out of Pakistan's backyard. And the US Assistant Secretary of State, Donald Lu, recently told a congressional panel that the US wants to prevent Islamabad's further over-reliance on Beijing. And hear this, China is the past in terms of investment. We are the future. So is Pakistan now the frontline state in the China-US contest for influence in Asia? How will this state of affairs impact the China-Pakistan economic corridor? And is India once again seeing a fallout of this with the increase in terror attacks in Jammu? Joining me to discuss this are senior journalist Amit Baruah, Ambassador Yogesh Gupta, and in the studio is my colleague Aditya Raj Kaul. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Ambassador Gupta, I want to start by asking you this. What do you make of Donald Lu's statement recently where he said that China is the past, the US is the future? Is the United States once again coming back into Pakistan after withdrawing in 2021 from Afghanistan? Is Pakistan back on the radar in Washington?
Well, I think, the Americans have started getting some sort of a self-exaggerated sense of their relevance or importance in the emerging political scenario in our region. Now, they seem to feel that because there has been a certain amount of bad blood between China and Pakistan due to China's refusal to sort of roll over certain loans relating to the power sector,
right,
that they have an opportunity here to meddle and to sort of improve their relations with Pakistan at the expense of China. But Pakistan itself has made it clear, a spokesman of the Pakistan Foreign Ministry has made it clear that as far as they are concerned, for them, their relationship with China receives a much higher priority than their relationship with the United States. While they are interested to have strengthened relations with both China as well as the United States, they will not let the relationship with the United States grow at the expense of their relationship with China. So that part, the Pakistan itself has made it clear. Now, what is it that the Americans are looking for? Americans are thinking that Pakistan is now in a vulnerable situation.
Right.
They think that financially, Pakistan is in poor state. Pakistan's finances are dependent on fresh loans from the IMF and so on. And they think that they have this opportunity to get some sort of a basic facility in Pakistan. They have the opportunity to strengthen their presence in Pakistan, which they can use possibly against Iran or in their balance of power situation or scenario against India. So, they have all these kinds of, they are working on all these kinds of possibilities. They could use Pakistan against China maybe. They could use Pakistan in the Indian Ocean, all kinds of calculations in the Gulf and so on. But I think these are all highly exaggerated. Nothing of this kind is going to happen. Pakistan is going to give a much higher priority to their relations to China than the United States. Of course, $100 million is hardly any worthwhile amount. I don't think Pakistan is going to be terribly excited about this $100 million. And so I think there is too much of life being made of a very, very small sum of money, and
Right.
I think the Americans are just overplaying.
The Americans are just overplaying their hand. Aditya, do you see any connection between what's going on right now in the way the Pakistanis are playing both the Chinese and the United States to achieve its objectives in Jammu and Kashmir? The violence in Jammu, do you see that as connected with what's going on with the kind of great game that they are playing? The Pakistan army is playing with both China and the United States.
You know, firstly, I think it's pretty much clear that US has done this before and could do it again.
Right.
The rebalancing between India and Pakistan.
Yes.
The kind of policy that Obama had.
Right.
We had the same policy to an extent in the past as well. Donald Trump, initial phase, it was different. There were strict warnings
Yes.
that went on. But then by the end of it, it was again a rebalancing. US still has not been able to digest or understand
Right.
at a full scale the kind of betrayal that it went through when Afghanistan was taken over by the Taliban.
Yes.
It
Exactly
thought-
3 years ago.
3 years ago. And I think they still have to understand what the consequences really were and how they were backstabbed. At the same time, I agree with Ambassador Gupta when he says that Pakistan's priority has been and will remain China.
Right.
They call China their iron brother.
Yes.
And that is what is visible down on ground as well. Yes, there have been some, rough patches in the relationship with the TTP attacks against the Chinese.
Right.
We've seen how the Chinese engineers have been killed, attacks on infrastructure as well. And China's stern warning has been there to the deep state as well
Yes.
to provide security.
Right.
At the same time, I think India would only raise a concern if US's defense ties with Pakistan are to be strengthened yet again.
Yes.
If fighter jets, ammunition, all
Right.
kinds of those articles are yet again
Yes.
given to Pakistan as a so-called ally in the
Right.
region. I don't think that is certainly going to happen in near future. Also because this is an election year.
Yes.
We'll have to wait and watch at least next 10 months on what the new government's policy, new US
Right.
administration's policy towards Pakistan will be. I think a lot is being said, blown out of proportion on US's stand on Pakistan. A lot is also election sloganeering. A lot is
Right.
also messaging in the election year.
Yes.
So as of now, I think for Pakistan, China is much more important. But yes, I agree with you, Sandeep, my last point, that yes, we have seen in the past, the Sharifs have had a good business relation with the US, and they would want for a better economy in Pakistan to have a good ties with Washington DC.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think, as of now, it does seem so that the Pakistan army and the Sharifs are on the same page. Will they remain so? How will the dynamics play out vis-a-vis Taliban is
Right.
something we'll have to wait and watch.
Absolutely. Let's ask Amit Baruah this. Amit, you've spent time in Pakistan. You've reported from Islamabad. Tell us how the Pakistan military is seeing things right now with, these, say, half-hearted attempts made by the United States to woo them with $100 million, not a lot of money. And you have China, on the other hand, with a full-fledged CPEC, a large number of projects, infrastructure investments, all of that. What is it that could actually sweeten the deal between the United States and Pakistan? Would it be, as Aditya was suggesting, that a reopening of the arms pipeline? Because nothing gets the Pakistan military going like F-16 jets, for instance.
Sandeep, yeah, thank you for your question. I think that, I was looking at what Donald Lu said. It seemed that it was more a television bite than serious strategic analysis. Because anybody who sees the history of Pakistan-US relations in the last 30 years would know that the Americans have not made any significant investment in Pakistan for many years.
Right.
Their relationship with Pakistan has been very transactional.
Yes.
We saw it, after 9/11, and that transactional nature continues. And of course, we do have a new army chief in Pakistan. So obviously, the Americans, traditionally they've had very good relations, army to army or military to military relations. But I don't see any, dislodging of China happening. So Donald Lu's comments, perhaps, slightly over the top.
Right.
And I'm not so sure whether it was meant for a domestic audience in the United States. But overall, it appears to me that the relationship between China and Pakistan is not just, as you know, an economic relationship.
Yeah.
There are solid defense, needs and requirements which are built into it, which is why the Pakistanis lay so much store by that relationship. But overall, I think that the Americans having to say this publicly also shows that their own credibility in the region, their hasty departure from Afghanistan, their
Yes.
inability to play a larger role in South Asia. I think that is something which should concern them. Plus, I think the government of India, has had traditionally very good relations with the United States over a number of years and a number of governments. But I think that, as far as security is concerned, we faced the brunt of, how should I put it, American favoritism or whatever you call it. Tarapur, to my mind, being the best example, the nuclear fuel that was withheld by the Americans. So I think all these things are I'm sure, in the mind of the Indian government. But as far as the Pakistanis are concerned, they also know the Americans very well. They have dealt with them for a number of years. They, as I was saying, Sandeep, to you, is that this transactional nature of the relationship is very evident.
Right.
However, the situation in Afghanistan, from the reports that I see, we see a buildup of Al-Qaeda camps in Afghanistan. This is something which should concern the Americans, because if you remember, the first time the Taliban took power in 1997, the Americans had virtually abandoned the region. And this gave free rein to all kinds of terrorist groups to, set up camp, regroup, and then launch attacks globally. So my own sense is the Americans should definitely be engaging the Pakistanis, but whether they are going to replace China, I think, to my mind, it's a slightly, right now, slightly laughable proposition.
Laughable proposition at the moment, given the kind of investments that the Chinese have made in Pakistan, both in the military and in the civil side with the China-Pakistan economic corridor. But Ambassador Gupta, this point about the US-Pakistan relationship being purely transactional and the one between China and Pakistan being more for the long term, you have hard projects on the ground, you have infrastructure being created. Does that weigh on the minds of the generals in GHQ Rawalpindi when they make their next moves? Given the fact that there's not going to be any significant outreaches from the United States, as Aditya was mentioning, the US is in full-scale election mode, nothing to expect out of Washington, D.C. for the next 6 to 8 months. What's your sense of this?
First of all, as far as the transactional relationship with the US is concerned, that is something, US has transactional relationship with most countries, not only Pakistan. I think also with India, also with other countries. That is their nature. That is their temperament. That is how they look at it. That is one thing. Number two, as far as the Pakistani generals are concerned, as far as Pakistani army is concerned, I think they are certainly absolutely delighted. They are certainly keen to have good relations with the United States, because they like to visit the United States more. They would like to have more courses done in the US military institutions. They would like to have more US arms. They would like to know more about the US strategies, about the US war planning exercises, and so on. So while they have good relations with China, but they are more enthused about the relationship with the United States because the way things are. But as far as the political leadership is concerned, as far as the Pakistani Foreign Office or the bureaucracy is concerned, they certainly look upon China as a much more dependable, much more stronger, much more reliable, all-weather ally, and that relationship has far more substance than their relationship with the United States.
Ambassador Gupta, I'm afraid we're completely out of time there, but thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on this installment of the News 9 Plus show. US-Pak bonding, should India worry? Well, clearly, as our experts have told us, not at the very moment, because given the way things are in the United States with the elections, it doesn't look like there's anything much happening there for the next 6 or 8 months. But in the long term, it is going to be China that is the permanent player in Pakistan.